I think the stream is about to begin, or is it on? Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Optimize stage. We have, I think, a web stage and a WebEx stage, something like that. My name is Ivan. First, let's hear the applause in the room. How's the crowd here? Good. I won't triple that when I announce the next speaker. So, by day, Matteo is into banking software development. By night, he explores airlines and mathematics. Matteo is here to unpack the concept of technical debt. He'll share insights into Raiffeisen Bank Croatia's perspective on tech debt and introduce a potential approach of measuring it. Now, the biggest round of applause. Please give a warm welcome for Matteo Todoric. Let's go!
Can you hear me? I guess so. I'm actually quite terrified, but I have a question for you before we begin. And the question is seemingly simple. How many angels can we fit on a pin of a needle? We can paraphrase that with the question of how much technical debt can we fit on a beer bottle. The answer to both questions is basically the same. Think about it. We'll come to the possible solution at the end of the presentation. I also have a disclaimer. I'll be showing you some aeronautical charts, avionics, and other similar stuff. Obviously, do not use that for operational or planning purposes. So let's get to know each other. If I were Bob, you'd probably be Alice, and we'd be taking a walk down the Wonderland. However, my name is Matteo. I'm a software architect at Raiffeisen Bank Croatia, and I will be flying you to Amsterdam today. We are going to do some planning. We'll be dealing with some emergencies, and hopefully we will be able to do some thinking. Well, everybody loves thinking, so let's go. So let's imagine we are planning to ship some features from Los Angeles to Amsterdam. We have been doing this for a very long time. We actually do it every other day. We do have some overnight maintenance at our base in Los Angeles. You know, it's not great, it's not terrible. We get along. It's a flight we all know too well. Mission planning, it involves some serious mathematics, and it's rather complicated for 20-minute talks, so we'll have to oversimplify a bit and plan it in story points. We'll be going from LA. We'll be burning 120 points to here, 180 points to there, and so on and so on. You know how sprint planning, how these meetings go. And as it were, one of the engineers obviously comes up and says, well, I have an objection. You know, we have been burning more and more fuel, more and more story points to reach Amsterdam. And I mean, what I'm trying to say, our aircraft needs some serious maintenance. I know we can't generate revenue while it's on maintenance, but nonetheless. And if you remember, last week we had a guy that was in so much hurry that he over-rotated the aircraft and basically skidded the tail on the runway. What we are trying to say, you know, we have to do some serious maintenance before we ship more features to Amsterdam. And the product owner comes along and says, you know, but we have some VIP features booked for today's flight, so cancellation is not an option, and we are going to do it, well, we'll do it later. Brilliant. So, let's take a look at the road ahead. We'll be taking off from LA. We'll be flying to Amsterdam. If the weather is not that good in Amsterdam or something goes wrong, we can divert to Paris Charles de Gaulle. We'll have coffee instead of beer. And if something goes awfully wrong, well, these things never happen. But if something does, we'll be diverting to one of our Iceland alternates. So here we go. We are joyfully cruising over the Atlantic skies. And you know, you are engineers, you have some artistic tendencies, so you basically, you know, come up with a poem. And, you know, skies are lovely, dark and deep, but we have promises to keep, you know, to stakeholders and other important business people. and miles to go before we sleep. And we are always ready for any contingency or emergency that may come along the way. So here we go. It usually becomes with a chime, and we take a look at our instruments, Kibana of sorts. And it says that your FMC, your flight management computer, has a message for you. So what do? We'll take a look at the flight management computer, which is basically our spin backlog. And this little inconspicuous message, sends chills down your spine. We don't have enough fuel to go to Amsterdam. So what do? Well, you are obviously a developer. You are going to program the flight computer. It's actually quite simple to do on Boeing airplanes, for instance. What you can do is select Reykjavik, in our case, select the Divert Now option, and now as a developer, as a serious professional, you need a code review. So you ask your colleague sitting in your right seat, hey, can you please take a look at this? And your colleague says, yeah, seems just about right. And the next step is basically, push the execute button and off we go. So we are here, somewhere in the middle of Atlantic, and our aircraft starts, slowly turning towards the Reykjavik. But we have a more serious issue at hand. We have a sprint review coming. And, we promised our stakeholders we'll be taking the features to Amsterdam, and we are ending up in Reykjavik. And one of your brilliant colleagues comes up to you and says, well, we can sell it this way. We can say, we aren't going to Reykjavik, we are going to New Amsterdam. And New Amsterdam is obviously better than the original one. So, New Amsterdam it is. But then your colleague, let's call him Hrvoje. Hrvoje really wanted to be in the talk, so there you go, Hrvoje. Hrvoje has been learning Dutch for some time. And Hrvoje is basically very sad and says, niemand spreekt de Nederlands. What? Nobody speaks Dutch there. And then you go, well, Hrvoje, that's quite a brilliant point, New Amsterdam, nobody speaks Dutch there, and they do have some Dutch beer. You could, you actually should be working in marketing. So, Hrvoje is satisfied, and to New Amsterdam we go. You start to plan your descent into New Amsterdam, but suddenly there is a knock on the door. And who is it? Well, obviously it's your product owner. And your product owner is very polite, and the product owner asks you, well, dear team, how are things in the collective today? And you are being polite as well. And so you say, well, perfect for the most part, but could be better. We are diverting to New Amsterdam. And your product owner says, well, we do have some VIP features back there. Can we at least try and make it to London? And before you even try to say no, you can almost hear this Scrum Master screaming from behind, refinement, refinement. Yay, brilliant. Just another meeting, but okay, we know how this ends, but we do have some time to kill. So we take our charts. Product owner comes with a Jira ticket. It's a very simple Jira ticket. I, as a product owner, want to be in London. And the engineering team comes up and says, well, that's actually very much doable, but we do have some non-functional requirements that we would want to add. And the first one would be, well, we can make a forced landing on water here. And the second one is, well, we can all swim from there to London. And you can see the product owner thinking about it, but then, then the product owner says, well, we have some experts back there, and they can't really swim. So, well, New Amsterdam, it is. Now you're, calm, composed, planning your descent, doing some other stuff, talking to your friend, daydreaming, doing whatever. But then there is a ring on the intercom, and it's Charlie. Charlie is the kind of a guy that comes in times of great need, and he usually comes up with advice that is, at best, true but useless. And Charlie goes on to say, well, guys, can we please fly faster? We could maybe, if we fly faster, we could get there. And you go on to explain, well, Charlie, we are already flying at the range optimal speed. if we flew any faster, we'd fly shorter, but we'd surely get there sooner. And now Charlie isn't satisfied, and Charlie wants an education. So, okay, brilliant. Another meeting. There we go, Charlie. Principles of flight 101. And so you go, Charlie, this is lift, this is weight, and these little green arrows, well, that's the drag. And faster we fly, more of these arrows we get. So a lot of hand-waving arguments, and yeah, Charlie, that's why we are already flying at optimal speed. And Charlie goes, okay, I understand it now. Thank you. And you are being polite, so you think in your head only, and you say, well, thank you, finally. But then Charlie continues to talk, and he just can't stop. And Charlie goes on to say, well, we can't fly any faster, little green arrows won't let us. Okay, brilliant, Charlie. And Charlie keeps on talking in a way that, basically for you, Charlie is speaking in tongues, and you are now having an existential crisis. Is this my own personal hell? But when you think about it a bit better, you find it quite funny, actually. You can imagine Charlie prancing around with green arrows and stuff. So you let Charlie go, and Charlie goes on back there to, spread the green gospel, tell everyone about his newly acquired knowledge. Brilliant. Finally, we have some time, to decently prepare for our approach and landing in New Amsterdam. Unfortunately, it's night, and, engineering takes too much coffee, so you have to visit the lavatory. And unfortunately for you, lavatory is in the cabin. To get to the lavatory, you'll have to go through the cabin, and to do that, you are going to have to meet some people. And to your dismay, you can see, well, thank you, Charlie. Half of the people are watching outside, trying to take a picture of little green men pulling on the wing, while the other half is frantically writing petitions to ban the green color. And, not funny anymore. And it's not funny because you can expect two meetings. On the first meeting, you are going to have to explain, well, you promised us little green men, we didn't find any. And on another one, you are going to have to listen to people telling you, why green is bad for health. So, well, it's okay. Thank you, Charlie. Charlie, thank you very much. So, let's get back to business. Planning a descent, making a picture-perfect landing, actually. It's called sticking the landing. We make a landing in, not Reykjavik, obviously. We land in New Amsterdam. And what does the team do after a perfect landing? After a perfectly completed sprint? Well, we're going to go for some beer, and then we are going to do some thinking. So, what went wrong? Basically, two things. One of them was the materialized risk. We obviously had an emergency. We are going to have to write a lot of reports. And the other one is the drag. You have to push harder and harder to deliver anything. So, let's try and talk about the tech debt. As I've said, it usually manifests itself in two ways, more than two, but these are the two, basically two that come first to my mind, at least. One of them is risk, the other one is the drag. Risk is basically shipping to production code that is obviously not ready for production, and drag is God classes, whatever, making your life miserable while you are coding. And we do dance with these two, I guess, devilish twins, one dangerous, the other insidious, and they are observable effects, basically, of the tech debt, of the thing we call tech debt. And when you think about it, this little chart has a lot to do with measurement of human intelligence as well. And if you want to know how and why, you can join me for a beer later at New Amsterdam. So, what do we usually measure, and how these conversations with business usually go? We need to fix this. Okay, why? It's making our life miserable. It's making us slow. But okay, and to the horror of Scrum Masters, the question quickly becomes how much is that in man days? If you even try to mention stuff like psychrometric complexity, the conversation usually ends up something like something like this. We have a concept we can't clearly define, and we can't clearly communicate our needs to the business people, the people paying our bills. So what can we do? Well, we can do some algebra, basically. We are already estimating in story points, so we could estimate a story as your product owner wants. Story, I want to be in London, say. And we can estimate it to 21 story points. The next thing one can do, maybe, is to estimate the clean configuration estimation, basically the estimation of a feature on a completely new system that is absolutely perfect. Take depth free, perfect to work, actually quite lovingly to work with. And the difference between the two is obviously tech trap. Those are the tech trap, tech depth track. And it's something you can communicate to business about. It's the set of features that we didn't deliver, a set of features not delivered because of the additional amount of work required to deliver existing features whilst fighting the technical debt. So what can one do now? Well, we can talk to business. Now we do have some leverage. So how do we do it at the Raiffeisenbank? For the past year or so, we have some agile teams, and each team has been given a certain budget to include resolution of at least part of technical debt in each sprint. And with that, we also do a lot of reusage, code, charts, etc. But a very simple way to explain to business people what the effect of tech debt actually is we have this total delivery over a year of 2,600 story points. Of that, approximately 1,600 story points were features that we delivered, and the rest of it is pure drag. These are the features that could have been delivered, but were not delivered. So, back to the question, basically. Actually, I'm looking at the time, and I am on time, and quite happy about that. So, how many angels can we fit on a needle pin? The question is basically a moot point. It doesn't make any sense. You can put as many or as little as you'd like. If you are talking about tech debt, and to you it's wrongly named constants, increased complexity, whatever. But if you talk to business and you come up with something that's ill-defined, they won't understand you, and the only thing they will see is mandates. Those are the features that we could have delivered, but we wasted them on you guys playing around. So the idea basically is to use logical positivism, if you can, to make meaningful statements. Basically, statements that are empirically verifiable. We want to have something we can measure in order to communicate to business. Well, this is the basically opportunity cost we have because you won't let us fix the tech debt. And why do we want to do that? Well, to get better and maintainability and reliability, and obviously delivering something of value to your business, to our business. To paraphrase, how much technical debt can we fit on a beer bottle? Well, we can explore it together at the RBA stand in, New Amsterdam, waar niemand spreekt Nederlands. And additional point I would like to make is basically a question we can answer. I don't know the correct answer, but the question is, the question still stands. How many angels can you help today? There is a Lego charity at the Raiffeisenbank and Shift stand. People are building the Razor Crest, and the proceeds are going to the Autism Association Zadar. We can all be polite, but we can also be kind. So go and be kind for a while. And with that, well, welcome to New Amsterdam. The weather is actually very nice. It's a magical place, where sprint goals are always achieved. Outside air temperature is approximately 300 kelvins, and local time is obviously it's beer time. We do hope to see you on one of our future talks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matteo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You were great. You were panicking for no reason. Okay, how was he? How was he? Give a big round of applause to see. That was awesome. You can go drink your beer now. We'll be back in 10 minutes with the next guest. Mr. Tovislav is going to talk to us how to manage innovative projects in 10 minutes. Hello, everybody. Welcome again. Let's see how's the crowd in this room. Good. 5 people. 5 people are okay. No. Dajte malo veći. Give him more applause. Let's see the energy in the room. Good. Next up, an award-winning innovator with over 19 inventions and 5 ICT patents to his name. This is like a boxing announcement. Tomislav is also a mentor, university lecturer, and founder of Citus. He's been recognized as the Microsoft Most Valuable Professional and holds a rare title of a Microsoft Regional Director. Let's dive into the world of managing an innovative project with the guidance of seasonal professional, Mr. Tomislav. Let's get an applause. Tomislav,
thank you. Okay, welcome here on this stage, and today we will talk how to manage innovative projects. We have been listening to all of these people that are speaking about the new technologies, new processes, new products, new services, and so on. And today and now we will actually speak about how to manage innovative projects, because it's not easy, it's not the same how to do it, like regular projects. So a little agenda for the start. I know that this is maybe not usual on this type of the conference, but this is something that will guide you through this presentation. First thing, actually, I will set the stage by telling you why I am here. Not you, but I'm here to speak about this and about the innovation. We'll talk very shortly about what is actually the innovation, and then we'll see how makes innovation projects and what it makes the innovation projects different from the regular projects. We'll talk about the business perspective, the project management perspective, and how the handover from the project to the so-called BAU, what it means, business as usual means, and where the innovative project is in the ideation project. So first, has been announced, but the thing is that I'm leading a great teams of professionals that are innovating for a number of years. I will not say how much, because maybe some of you are younger. I see in this line, in this row, they are very young attendees here. So I will just go to the slide that shows how many international awards we have been winning, all around the street, all around the world. And this is where, our 5 patents in IT industry, 9 trademarks, and 99 awards. This is not PR joke. This is actual number that we have, put before this presentation. We have been doing a great job in getting from idea to the innovation and making innovation product, from innovation to the product. We have been monetizing innovation in different ways, and these are some of our products. This is how they look like. And I must tell you that the technologies that we are talking today on this conference here, we have been using these technologies for a number of years, because artificial intelligence is not from the yesterday. Of course, in the past year, it reaches its peak, in, of course, reaching the technology capabilities, but also reaching the broad audience and affecting all our lives. But we have been using computer vision, artificial intelligence, and so on for a number of years now. And these are the products that we have been developing and that we are selling all over the world. So, after setting the stage, what is actually innovation? Often people mistake idea by innovation. The idea is not innovation. Innovation is a process of getting the idea from some abstract thing to build a new methods, new products, new services, solutions that have significant impact and positive value to something. It involves transforming creative concepts into tangible outcomes that improve efficiency and effectiveness or address unmet needs. Innovation is not limited to the technological advancements and encompass novel approaches to problem solving. So we have some problem and we need to solve it. And it also contributes to the organizational practices, business model innovations, and in its core, innovation involves challenging the status quo, thinking outside the box, and taking calculated risk to drive progress and achieve breakthrough outcomes. So, what makes innovative projects different than regular projects? There are two perspectives that need to be looked. There are business perspective, and there is a project management perspective. Managing projects, innovative projects, is not the same as managing the regular projects. If you apply the same methodology, the same way of managing the innovative projects as you have used to do with regular or standard projects, you are in the risk to choke the innovation, to stop the innovation to happen. So you need to take a different approach. So how we actually develop a digital project? Because I am talking from the experience of the developing digital products, digital services, but this for sure can be applied to many different industries. But my experience and experience my team is in digital projects. So first step is idea generation. So this is where we are actually we want to solve some problem, to invent something that is not already there, or we can say there is something, there is some methods, there are some services, there are some products, but they are not very good. Or so we can improve them on some way, or we can approach to this problem like completely thinking about something different that will replace this, and so on and so on. The second step, market research and idea screening, is the point where the business gets in. So we are thinking how to solve the problem, but we need to set up something which is called baseline. And the baseline is a business process, business case study. And then we are going to the planning, generating minimal viable product, developing and testing. We are taking care of the costs and planning for go to the market and commercialization. So how we are approaching to the business perspective, and what are the steps that we need to do? The first step is a problem solving. You cannot solve difficult problems in innovative ways with the standard tools. So you need to use several techniques and several tools that are out there that you can use. And of course, some of them are better fitted to the beginning of the process of the creating innovation from the idea, and some of them are better fitted later on when you are using all these ideas from the huge cloud and create something that is concentrated, that is something that you can actually deliver in some period of time. So we are using techniques like design thinking or creative problem solving. Those methods and those techniques are not from yesterday. A lot, in the past, the people were using those techniques to solve complex problems. And as you can see, creative problem solving, this is far on the right, there's only 4 steps. But those 4 steps are something that you need to train. Like you are trained sports, like you are training football or basketball, like we are in this sports arena here. But you need to train your team how to think out of the box. But at the moment, when you get from idea to the innovation, then you want to create a project that will deliver innovative product, and then you are back into the box because you want to manage the project. You don't want to have a chaos in the project as you had when you are doing ideation, creating ideas to solve the problems. Okay, so there are different tools that you can use, like brainstorming, fishbone diagrams, flow charts, and so on. So all of these visual tools help you to create a vision. And this is very important because comparing to the regular projects, when you are creating a business case, a business model, you don't want to spend a lot of time to do that. You need to make it in a very short period, but you need to make sure that everybody in your team realize and they know what is your vision, what is the value that you want to achieve. So the business model canvas is something, a tool that we are usually using because you see in the middle is the value proposition. And this is the most important thing when we are talking about the innovation projects. So from the business perspective, from the product owner perspective, it is very important to communicate to the team what are the values or increase in the values comparing to some products that are on the market you want to achieve. And the team, depending on their role in the team, are there to innovate. So the business, the product owner will not tell the technical guys how to realize the service or the product, whatever. Those people will actually think how to use available techniques, available technology, or some new technology to achieve, these values that are in place for the team. So sometimes people say it's not important to have a business case for the innovative project. This is wrong. The business case is an important step to provide a baseline justification to proceed and use it to compare it against what you have in the vision when you are tracking your project, in the phases, in the stages. So this is where you go back, and this is not something that is fixed. This document should be fluid. This document should be open to new ideas, to new information, because when you start the innovative project, there was uncertainty about what you actually can or should achieve. You have some vision, you have some idea. It's like you do the draft of some house, and then you go to the cycles, the stages, iterations. And through this iteration, you have a better and better picture. You are thinking and working on the details, and at the end of the story, you have very detailed plan how to do it. But then it's not just a plan, it's not just business case, it's also a final product that is defined as that. So what are the advices how to handle the business case and accelerating the business case to create them faster than usual in usual projects? So innovation is something that does not exist. You cannot predict any single thing before you start. But you can imagine a lot or manage a lot of things. First, time box the process. What does it mean? This means that this forces the team to deliver a minimal viable business case, not a product, a business case. Business case development should not have numerous iterations. It cannot last for months or years. It should be short, and what is important, why to have this business model canvas and business case is to involve all the stakeholders, customers, and if possible, end users. You know the difference between customers and users? The customers are those that pay for the project. End users are the users that are actually using, the result of the project. So the business case process is essential to provide a credibility and making a decision later on to proceed, because we will do the chunks, of the project in the small stages, and at every stage we will, compare the results to the business case, the business model canvas, to see if we achieved what we have actually committed to do. And detailed instruction research is not necessary. You do not need to research a lot of things. You need to research just enough to provide justification and make just enough details that are available to the stakeholders that they can rely on it. And do this feedback part that enables you to fail fast if the project is not going anywhere, or better off to pivot. What does it mean? So we can see that this is not like we have imagined. The results are not good. The values are not achieved. So what we do? We are thinking how we can use what we have developed until now and to see if we can do something else. then what we are doing, we are actually updating the business model and trying again with the new baseline. Also, we need to do this in the stages. Why? We take a budget, we have some budget, and we have it divided in small stages. For the first stage, we will, let's say, spend 10,000 euros or 20,000 euros. And we model this stage to produce the values worth 10,000 or 20,000 of euros. And then, at the end of this stage, we compare against what? A business case. And we test, did this stage with the functionality that has been chosen are producing the results that are at that moment available from the stage that we have delivered. If the answer is yes, then we go further. If the answer is no, then we stop the project or we pivot. So this is the way that we do everything through the project. So stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and at the end of each stage, we actually compare the results against the business model and value that has been achieved. So this is important for the next step. We need to coach the whole organization, not just the R&D department, research and development department, not just the people that are developing the product or service, but the whole, all stakeholders. They need to know what is the process. They need to know all the details. Not every detail, but enough details so they can make a decision if the value provided is what they have been expected. If there is not enough details, there is a risk that they will say the value has not been achieved. So we need to have this very, very carefully designed. And also, we need to make the business case part of the idea management process. So it's also fluid, it's also prone to change. So from the project management perspective, how the innovative projects differs from the regular projects. First, it's more uncertain than the project management for the regular projects. So there is often we don't have all the inputs. We do not know what would be the outputs. We need to research, we need to experiment, we need to try and then test it and so on. And second thing, in the regular process, we avoid changes. We make it very difficult changes to be part of the process. There is a very complex change management process which evaluates every change. In the innovative project is completely different. We need changes. The changes are welcome. And we need to make this process flexible and agile. And this is why we actually choose in the next bullet agile project management rather than the classic project management waterfall part. And this is the one that is right from the innovation projects. Risks. We are managing the risks, but not as formal as in the regular projects. But what is important? Risks are there, and they are much, much higher than in regular projects. And this is acceptable. We accept in this. But it is very important that everybody in the team are aware about the risks. We are repeating them. We are putting them on the board so everybody, see those risks. And everybody are welcomed and invited to, provide solutions how we can mitigate or how we can, when risk comes, to do something with this risk. And the collaboration is very important, as I already said, communication between all the people in the team, not just the people that are delivering the projects, the products, but also the people that are the customers that are thinking about the customer experience, that are thinking about how to go to market and so on. So when we are talking about the risk, this is how the risk matrix, the risk profile of innovation projects looks like. So if you go and see on the bottom left side, you see a regular project. It doesn't have a lot of risks because we want in the regular projects to have low risks, we have low impact, and this is something that is acceptable for the regular projects. If you go a little bit right on this slide, then you will see that we have a huge impact but a low risk. These are probably infrastructure projects. And if you go and see on the right and up, these are generally projects that are avoided that have high risk and high impact. What we do with such projects, we try to make the impact of the risks lower. And we are trying to move it on the left quadrant where innovative projects are. So they are highly risky, but the impact of these risks are not so much. So what are the project risk management best practices? As I already said, we need to provide continuous feedback mechanism. Through the project, we are not going to have a black boxes. We want to make it as transparent as we can. We want to have a daily build. We want to deliver daily a new version which all the customers or stakeholders, probably the end users who would be tomorrow a very, very motivated sponsor of the project, they need to be able to feel and use the product or the services. We focus on the business case, ongoing focus. So we are always, as I said, we have stages. At every stage, we are comparing what we have achieved to what we have planned. If we didn't achieve the value and the things that we have planned, then what we are doing? We are either failing and saying the project is not succeeded, or we are changing the business case. We are saying, okay, let's see if we can change the business case and make it the values that are more applicable to the project. Also, we do a pivot. If the project is about to fail, but maybe we can see how we can make it not to fail or use it in some other way, then we do the pivot. We are doing informal risk management assessment, and we spread resources across multiple small projects to reduce risk. What we do, we are doing portfolio management. And this is what is the portfolio management. In our company, what we are actually doing, we have a number of innovative projects that are going on, and those innovative projects are sharing the same resources, like in development, software development. You have a framework that somebody else is developing, and this framework is used in a different, products. The similar thing is with the innovative projects. So what we tend to do is to have a portfolio of these innovative projects that can share some resources and making the risk lower, the impact lower, and the cost of the project lower. So what are the advices for the planning innovative projects? The innovative projects are manageable projects. So the first thing on the project initiation meeting, we are actually talking about the protocols, methods, and standards. It doesn't matter if it is innovative. What is not innovative, it's not the innovative that we are managing the project. We are managing innovation that happens through the project. So this is a difference. We are agreeing about working norms and procedures. And we are always obligated, all the members of the team, to do everything under these norms and procedures. We are identifying the minimum viable product that we want to ship at the end of each stage and then at the end of all stages. And we are developing time box plan. Time box plan means we are limiting. So doesn't matter if we are doing the innovation, delivery is very strictly, the time of delivery is strictly, defined. And nobody should be late on delivery. So this is very important. And we are doing the prioritizing must-have functionality against the colleague before me that was talking about this technical debt and so on. He was talking about prioritizing things, We are doing always learning and feedback. And this is not just, that we are saying that we are doing. Because if we are not doing that, then we are not advancing. We are not improving. We are not innovating in our organization. And where the innovative project took space. So this is idea management process, and project context. So you can see we are defining what we are doing what the problem is, what we are solving. We have ideation, where the process of getting from idea to what we actually want to achieve, what we want to improve, what is the value that we want to deliver. We evaluate, we do research, and then we start the innovative project, which starts with defining the business case. And then we have implementation, and you see that our project is going a little bit in this part, manage. The manage part is where the people are, and the implementation part is where the people are important. And because this is a lecture about the project management, I will just emphasize on one person. Of course, each role in the team has something different than it is in the regular project. So for example, you can see the project manager in the regular project develops a detailed plan. In innovation project, this is not possible. You need to provide a high-level plan, which during this agile process and program management, you actually define a little bit better. Estimates of the budget are different. So this is done stage by stage, comparing to the regular project, which is defined at the start. And then there is a coordinates value delivery of project products against the time management on the regular project, and so on, so on. So as I said, our project is going a little bit far than not just implementation. It doesn't stop at implementation. It goes in something which are often forgotten. This is project handover and so-called BAU management, which means business as usual management, because we need to see when we have delivered our product, how this product behaves in real-life conditions, not just in our laboratory, testing beds, and so on, or some kind of the sandboxes, but we need to see if this product really produced the value that we wanted at the beginning of the project. And what we are doing, we are learning, and we are doing a continuous improvement. Of course, because it's project, we need to stop sometimes. But what we are doing then, we create a new project. We are doing a new iteration. We are providing a new value. So, as I explained, the process of implementing and managing innovative projects is similar to the project management. We are using project management techniques, but all of these techniques are agile. PMI Agile, Prince2 Agile, or Scrum, or Canvas, or whatever, Kanban, whatever we are using. But the process is not completely different because we are still, here we have some rules that we need to apply. And everybody should work under these rules, norms, procedures, and how we actually has been agreed how we'll do it. And what differs the teams from the teams that are excellent in delivering projects, innovative projects, is how the team actually have been learning from the deliveries that in the past, and how these deliveries actually affected and what has been learned for the future projects. We implement this in the future projects and do this improvement. So for all of you that are interested in what I have been saying, there is an interesting reference paper. It's actually a very short guide, 44 pages, but it's a research that my colleagues and me and others, from the Richmond Innovation Company has been done. And this is where you can find all of this, what I have been presented in the presentation, and a reference to, of course, the outside resources if you want to learn a little bit more. Because, of course, in the half an hour, you can explain how the innovative project has been managed. But this is an excellent guide that project managers, the people that are team members of the innovative projects can use, and also the stakeholders, and it's proven in the practice. It's not just theoretical, it's proven through a number of projects, not just our projects, but our projects all over the world, teams that delivered innovative projects. And do not forget that the basis of digital transformation, every digital transformation, is innovation. So in my sense, in my mind, all the projects, IT projects that are connected to the digital transformation should be innovative projects. And these are the guides, these are the procedures, how you can make it, and these are advices that I have provided from the practice that you can use a little bit, change and modify how to manage the projects and succeed in delivering innovative products, services, or processes, or advancement in any way. And that's it. If you have any questions, we can go outside in the corridor and do the question.
For a beer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tomislav. Give it up for Tomislav. One more time. An excellent presentation. Thank you, man. We'll be starting in 2 minutes. Let's just set up the laptop. Welcome back, everybody on the stream. Welcome back to the audience. This is our last speaker for the first day. With a background in startup crisis management and lead due diligence auditing, Steve understands what goes into startup success or failure. Behind his professional role, he likes to spend time with his family, like sci-fi, building tabletop board games. He's a US resident but lives here in Croatia. Let's learn from Steve how creating the right environment can make all the difference for knowledge workers. Explore strategies to enable them to thrive and drive your organization forward. Please give a warm welcome for Steve Tauber. Give it up. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for joining me on the last talk of today. Thanks to Ivan for introducing me. I want to first take you back in time to when you were in school and you had a project. And what did you do? You gathered around with your colleagues, and probably there wasn't a lot of motivation. There was a lack of interest, perhaps. Maybe someone was shunted off to the side of the project and wasn't really involved. And then there's the teacher, of course. And that teacher, I don't know, is it dismay? Is it horror? I'm not sure what's going on there. And we find that this can also occur when we are in the work environment too. People are distracted. So what can we do as leaders, as managers? How can we get our teams to function? You can rule with an iron fist, and then there's no uncertainty about what's going to happen. When you rule with full autocracy, then you are certain that the project is going to go well because you understand exactly what's happening every step of the way. And it works until you have to go on vacation or you turn your attention away, and then all of a sudden things fall apart. So what do? The reason that this happens is because of uncertainty. And some cultures like to avoid uncertainty. Croatia is one of the leaders of that, including Italy, Slovenia, Hungary, Portugal, Belgium, and 7 other EU countries score 75 or higher on Hofstede's cultural dimension score for uncertainty avoidance. So because of this uncertainty, fear takes hold, and then people try to take control. And that leads to stagnation. There's a better way. Enter free-range management. So I've done over 100 audits of startups for seed, Series A, B, and M&A rounds. There's, as part of Made with Love. From that, we've learned best practices, and those best practices are theoretical, but you can begin to implement them inside your business. You have to be very careful with how you do that. So free-range management is a structure to do that. It's based in 3 principles, and those principles help you create extreme autonomy. The first principle is resilience. That's really about the safety net. The second is focus. That's the time and the space for individual workers to actually do what they need to do. They're the knowledge people. They're the ones that are the experts. And then wellness. Wellness is about the longevity of the organization. It is a marathon, not a sprint. So we're going to talk about specific processes, and I hope that these are some processes that you haven't heard of and that you can apply to your teams. So let's start with resilience. Resilience is based on outcomes, so not output, but outcomes, understanding those and assessing them. Feedback, positive and negative, being able to provide good feedback, and psychological safety, encouraging the team to have good psychological safety. Outcomes is what we're going to start with. It's the hardest one to do. It's also the most important thing. And what we're talking about here is really looking at results and evaluating results, not based on output, not based on people putting butts in seats and evaluating their time, but instead focusing on the value that they create. So how do you actually do that? It is very hard, admittedly. And I think about it in kind of 2 different ways. First, I look at the quantitative aspects of it, and I'm thinking about metrics that I can apply or learn when I'm assessing the team. And this is really something I do at a team level. I'm not using metrics at an individual level. The second is assessment, which is really about understanding the individual and what specific qualities they bring to the organization. For me, this means defining their job role very clearly. If you're working with engineers, you probably want the engineering levels. So you have junior, meteor, senior, principal, and defining within that structure exactly what those roles and responsibilities are. For instance, if you have front-end and back-end engineers, they're going to be doing similar things. Maybe they have some specializations. And similar for DevOps and for QA. You want to write this stuff down so that people understand very clearly what their job is. And this will come up later when we talk about feedback. There's a system called 9-box grid model. You can see an example of it here. And this is a way to understand how individuals within the team are relating to one another. The performance, again, we'll talk about that when we come to feedback. Potential is the interesting axis here. It's very hard to understand someone's potential, and it's really a mix of IQ and EQ. It's not very well understood, I think, from our perspective as leaders and managers. How do you know that someone is going to do well? And what people do is they look at past performance, but that's actually not a predictor of future performance. So there's some consulting group, YSC Consulting. They've created a framework. It's based on surveys. It's called JDI, which stands for Judgment, Drive, Influence. And what they're looking at is determining the judgment that this person has. Are they able to make good decisions? The drive that they have, how are they motivated? And the influence they have, how broad is the scope of their influence? And so using this and using surveys, they can start to evaluate potential. This is something that can fluctuate over time. So someone might be distracted at home, and therefore their potential might drop for the short term. And you want to try to understand what team members are really contributing on a long term and the movement that is occurring. Oops, went too fast. Next is feedback. So a lot has been said about feedback. I hope that you're giving people feedback on your teams. I just want to cover a couple of the issues that I see when I'm doing these audits. So the first, of course, is that you use the sandwich model to give feedback, right? You say something positive, something negative, something positive. But this is an anti-pattern. This muddles the conversation. So instead, I use situation, behavior, impact. And what is that? Well, I'll model it for you. This is a framework developed by the Center for Creative Leadership. And the situation I'll use today is during the presentation today. Behavior, all the equipment was ready and working, and the impact, I really appreciate that. Thanks, tech team, for preparing everything. You can see that the feedback is very clear. This happened to be positive feedback. It could have been negative. But it's less likely for someone to argue with the feedback because it's not really about your interpretation of events. This is something that happened in a specific situation and the direct impact to you, the individual. And if you model it this way, you'll find much more productive feedback. Another example of a framework you can use for delivering feedback is content pattern relationship. This is from a book called Crucial Accountability with 1 million different authors in the title, so I'm not going to name them. And this is really about what type of conversation you want to have when you're giving feedback. So if it's a one-time event, such as someone being late to work, then we're talking about content. That's the specific problem, and that's something you can address through feedback. Pattern is where it's happening over and over again. And that's where you want to really talk about the fact, it's not the fact that they were late to work, but it's the pattern that's been occurring. And finally, some things might cause you to challenge or question the relationship, in which case you're having a relationship conversation. It's really about trust at that point. I should note that some things such as sexism and racism can go directly to the relationship step. So what kind of question do you have? What kind of conversation are you going to have when you're giving feedback? The cadence of feedback is important. I think one-on-ones are often utilized inside companies, but they maybe don't happen frequently enough. Definitely for development teams, I like to see monthly, if not weekly, one-on-ones. And that might sound like a lot, but as a leader, as a manager, your job is to provide enough feedback to people so that they can do their job well. The most important thing is that it's not operational. You're really focused on how they're doing, the relationships they have, what processes are working for them, and performance feedback in both directions. Retros should occur monthly, and many teams say that they have retrospectives, but then when you actually go and talk to them, you find out that, oh, they haven't done retros for the last 3 months because their sprints were overfilled and they were just too busy and didn't have time. Make sure you're doing your retros, make sure you're assigning out action points. And semester reviews, not annual reviews. At least twice a year, you should have very detailed 360-degree feedback. What does that look like? It looks like taking that job description that we built in the start of the outcomes, looking at the specific line items that that person is responsible for, and then they rate themselves. Unsure, no, yes, strong yes. And through that, you can then have a conversation. So they prepare this work about a week ahead of time. Then you set up a meeting. You, on your side, prepare this with one other person that's a leader. And you go through and you say, okay, you wrote this, you wrote yes, you're doing this, we agree. You wrote this, you said yes, you're doing it, we don't see it that way. And then you can start to have a real conversation about their specific roles and responsibilities. Resilience is... we've covered outcomes and feedback. Now we're talking about psychological safety. So, psychological safety is the #1 trait of high-performance teams, according to Google's Project Aristotle research. So the question is, okay, we know this, we know it's important, maybe we know what psychological safety is. How do we actually start influencing it? And the first thing you have to do is you have to measure it. So create a baseline and make an anonymous survey, and you want to then follow this up twice a year at a minimum, maybe quarterly might be better for your team. It's important it's anonymous so that people are really telling you how they feel about the situation at work. And what type of information can you put on this survey? Well, here are some examples. I am treated with dignity and respect every day. I am not afraid to be myself at work. And 2 reverse-coded questions. My mistakes are held against me, and it's difficult to ask peers for help. So you want people to not agree with those ones. You can use a Likert scale with 7 different levels from strongly disagree to strongly agree. And you want to look at this based on specific teams and figure out, okay, within a team this month, this particular question is dropping, maybe there's a problem there, and I can go take a look at it and try to troubleshoot what's going on. Braving is a structure from Brené Brown in her book, Daring to Lead. It's really about the power of vulnerability. B is setting boundaries, making sure that boundaries that you have are very clear. And as a leader, this is one of the first things you need to do, be very clear about what you're doing within the team. You need to be reliable. You need to be able to have people trust that you're going to follow through with what you say. Accountability is the A. It's really about holding yourself accountable, not your team members. And when they see that you hold yourself accountable, this will influence them to do the same. V is vault. That's keeping secrets. People need to be able to trust you. So make sure that you're holding sensitive information close. Integrity is doing the right thing instead of doing the easy thing. Non-judgment, N, is really about us versus the problem, a blame-free environment. And the G is generosity. Be generous with your time, be generous with your knowledge. So this is one structure, again, that's from Brené Brown, Dare to Lead, that you can use inside your own organization. You could also hold an anxiety party. This is invented by Daniel Burka. An anxiety party is exactly what it sounds like. You write down your deepest, darkest fears on a piece of paper, you sort them, and then you actually go and you talk to your colleagues about them. I recommend you start with a group of 4 people, and it will take you about 2 hours to work through just a couple of issues. And what you do is you read out loud to your colleagues your deepest, darkest fear about your performance at work, and they hold up a scorecard, just like at the Olympics, from 0 to 5, and generally it turns out to be a 0 or 1. If you have anything, you're going to discuss it, and you're probably going to see that your fears are not so well-grounded in reality. Everyone put your hands up, please. And go ahead and keep your hand up if this has happened to you at work before. Public critiques and scolding, favoritism, put-downs, endless rules applied inconsistently, blaming and shaming. If that's ever occurred to you at work, leave your hand up. Look around here. Look at how many people have their hands up still. This is abuse, according to Dr. Sandra L. Bloom. Why do we allow this to occur in the workplace? As a leader, it is your responsibility to call out abuse. Call it out with your role power that you have. Manager.readme is a creation by Luc Levesque. This is really about a blueprint to who you are as a manager. And what the document contains is a journey, your personal journey, your role, not your title, but your actual role inside the business, and any promises and expectations you have to and from the team. And when someone new joins the company, it's a good time to update it. And this allows people to understand what type of manager you are, what you expect of them. I've extended this because not everyone is a manager, created something called colleague.readme. It's a remix. And I've added personal values to it, and then also the successes and quirks that you might have as an individual. So this is a way that your team can start documenting who they are as people, because that is important to working with colleagues in collaboration. So far we've gone through resilience. This is the most important pillar. This is the safety net. This is what allows you to actually let go and release the responsibility. The outcomes and feedback and psychological safety are the 3 bits there. So let's look at focus. There is clear tasks, clear priorities, focus strategies, and async collaboration. We're going to start with clear tasks. Playing to win is a structure from Roger L. Martin and A.J. Lafley. It's about developing a very clear strategy in a structured format. There's 5 parts to it. I highly recommend you check it out. It, for me, has unlocked the mystery of how do you actually do strategy. And it has nothing to do with SWOT matrices at all. OKRs are sometimes used by businesses. I'm not a huge fan of them, but the 2 biggest mistakes I see are that there's just too many of them. That's usually the number one thing. And then the other thing is that they're done at an individual level, not a team level. If you are using OKRs at an individual level, congratulations, you've just siloed every single person on your team. Note that this is not part of assessment. This is part of the creating focus. So we're not using these to actually evaluate people. Double diamond design is an important concept. It's from, of course, visual design and product management. I find that engineers love to build stuff. So make sure you understand the problem space before you jump into the diamond space. This is where Double Diamond gets its name because it has divergent thinking and convergent thinking in the problem space, and then the same in the solution space. And then betting. As we heard previously, you need to be able to make bets. You need to understand that you don't know the full path, the full solution. So 2 references here are Shape Up by Ryan Singer, and of course the Build, Measure, Learn loop by Eric Ries. These are, you want to develop hypotheses as an organization, and then using that, try to determine what is the right path forward. There's feature passports from Hannes de Holster. A feature passport is essentially a problem definition. So writing everything down on one page. It contains all the information you need to get started, so including some solution ideation as well. And the reason that we want to do this is because software engineers need to understand the context that they're working in. And too often, product managers treat software engineers as simply an executionary force. They say, go ahead and do these JIRA tasks, but that doesn't work in the long run because understanding those JIRA tasks is impossible unless you have the full context. So this is why you need to make sure that you have that problem space well defined, the research is available, everyone on the team can see it. And you need to chunk work up. The big problem we see here is that the chunk sizes are just way too large. I like to see epics that are days long, maximum, and the specific individual tasks are 3 hours. Why 3 hours? Because you have 2 points of focus time in your day, before lunch and after lunch. And guess what? That's 3 hours long, because we all know that you're not going to work for the full amount of time. Clear priorities. So, of course, you have a roadmap, right? But I challenge you to investigate your roadmap and determine, is it on specific solutions, or is it focused on problems and outcomes? If you have a roadmap based on solutions, then it's very challenging to actually change direction later on. So for instance, let's say that there's a lot of traffic in your city. We could put a roadmap item that says expand Main Street, but now we're dedicated to that solution. Instead, if we ask a question, how might we reduce the traffic on Main Street? We have a deep understanding of the problem. It's something we can go and research. And we have the options for other solutions. Instead of just expanding Main Street, maybe we want to introduce public transit. Use a formal prioritization method. I see a lot of companies not doing this. It's just gut instinct. So check out ICE or weighted short jobs first, or even some sort of risk-based management, risk-based prioritization. Generally, as developers and you leading development teams, you want to focus on one most important goal, maybe on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis. And then I like to use goal-based stand-ups, where instead of hearing people rattle off a bunch of tasks that they maybe completed or maybe didn't complete, pick one goal for one person. Even if it takes 15 minutes, if they accomplish that goal, it's the most important thing that they've done. Everything else is bonus. So some focus strategies. We have individual focus. To do that, you can use the Pomodoro technique. That's where you set a timer for 25 minutes, deeply focus on one thing and one thing only, and then with it goes off, you just have 5 minutes to kind of refresh yourself, pick another task, maybe check your email, and then focus again. Also, have a dedicated workspace. I think that's more common these days. Open offices, they should die because no one can actually focus in an open office. Who says, I'm going to go to the office so I can really focus on my work? I haven't heard that before. Close Slack, get rid of your messengers, and allow your teams to do that as well. I treat Slack completely asynchronous. I've turned off all the notifications. I'm never notified. All the colors are dull. I don't have that red badge pop up because it doesn't actually matter. I'm focusing on a task. I'm going to focus on that until I'm done and then go back and help my team. And for those of you that work at home, you need to set boundaries with loved ones. It's very difficult sometimes, and people don't always understand that just because you're home, you're working, and this is an exercise that you need to continue to try to achieve success with. There's also focus for the team. Preventing unplanned work is the #1 issue here, where you have an idea about what to accomplish during a week, and then, of course, you get completely distracted by something that no one ever told you about. So you as an organization, you as a leader, need to learn to say no, and you need to empower your engineers to say no. It's so important. You can't even be ethical without the capability of saying no. Otherwise, you have to say yes to everything. So practice saying no. If you do have to accept unplanned work, make sure it's structured. So that could be a ticketing system, but it could also be something where maybe one person on the team is responsible to be on call during the day, and then only one person is interrupted rather than the entire team. Async collaboration is next. We all hate meetings, so just don't go to them anymore. How do you actually do that? You create a shared document before the meeting where everyone is typing their notes about the meeting. What are they planning to say during the meeting? And then other people reply with comments. And guess what? By the time the meeting is supposed to take place, everything's actually solved. Everyone's already added all their comments. Everyone's had their input. Even the introverted people have said something. And then you don't have to have the meeting. You can just cancel it. You can also use the meetings if you do have them as workshops, or perhaps there is some conflict on the team and you need to come to an agreement. Mentoring is very challenging. I think the #1 rule here comes from the Manager Tools Basics podcast, which I highly recommend you listen to if you're overseeing people. And really, it's about the concept of delegation as mentoring. And the rule is that you can only delegate things which you are an expert on. And the reason for that is because you have to coach that person on what they're doing. And if you're not an expert, you can't give them the feedback they need and you can't help them. So for instance, if you're a CEO and you're gonna hire someone to do sales, you're not delegating sales to them. That person is your peer if you are not an expert in sales. If you are an expert in sales, then that person should have responsibility and you can coach them on the things that you need from them. That's focus. Let's go to wellness. So wellness is all about healthy habits, becoming a knowledge-first organization, and building the team. Healthy habits is first. So we want to recharge. I think this is the most important thing. We need to step away. Don't install apps on your phone. Don't install email on your phone. Ignore your work when it's 5 o'clock. That's how you actually create a good work-life balance. Make sure you're sleeping enough. I don't buy into this whole wake up at 6 a.m. and grind. That doesn't work. That's just a way to become fatigued and then create bad work. So make sure you're getting enough sleep. And as a leader, you can create a good environment when it comes to diet by doing things like having fruit baskets or maybe even competitions for activity. There's running apps, there's biking apps, and these sorts of things. Burnout is, of course, the primary topic here. And the way that you're going to deal with this is through your one-on-ones. Make sure that you're keeping a pulse on how the individuals are doing on a team. Make sure that everybody is taking enough holiday, and make sure that you have a generous holiday policy at your business. Of course, that's not such a problem in Europe. In the US, it's definitely a problem. And you can also use Find Your Why from Simon Sinek to align your personal values with the work that you're doing. This is super important because if you don't have alignment with your particular job role, you are going to burn out faster than if you're actually aligned with what you're doing. There's only one you, and it needs to be both work and personal. Knowledge first is all about the flow of information. This is important for the long-term health of the organization. So it's about transparency, it's about a reflex to document, and it's something that everybody needs to do. This is one of the primary traits that we hire for at Made with Love. We look for people that are good communicators and good writers. And 10% time is another way in which you can create value. It's about giving time back to individuals, or it's 20% time some places, but individuals are going, learning new things, doing research, and then from that, they are helping to educate their colleagues. So that's through a blog, that's through a workshop, that's through a lecture. So that's wellness, healthy habits, knowledge first, and build the team. I hope that I still have more stuff, sorry. That slide is totally out of order. So hire slow, sorry, I apologize. We have build the team as the last bit here. Hire slow, fire fast. You've heard this adage before. So hire when it's painful, that's what hire slow is about. Fire fast is about being judicious. I agree with that, but I like to put a flip on it. Hire fast and fire slow. And what do I mean by that? You actually have to build a team, so you need to keep people interested in actually joining your organization. If your hiring process lasts 4 months and you have to go through 10 different interviews, you're not going to join your company. You're going to miss out on the best talent. So make sure your process lasts less than 1 month, and use an applicant tracking system so that you can actually give feedback to people at the appropriate steps. Here, it's really also about reducing bias. So what you can do is use rubrics to actually organize each particular interview, make sure multiple people are involved, or even anonymize some aspects of the interview process. For instance, we have a practical test where you actually do some programming work before we'll hire you. We take your Git repository, and then we anonymize it, and we have 2 different people do the code review. So they have no idea whose code they're reviewing. This removes a lot of bias. When it comes to onboarding, we found the best way to do that is with a buddy system. And what that looks like is within the first month, the buddy and the new person are meeting every 2 weeks. In the second month, they're meeting once a week. And in the third month, they're meeting twice a month. And this is a way to have that person become impactful very early. So it's about continually checking in on them and making sure they're adapting to the situation at hand. So that's the wellness pillar: healthy habits, knowledge first, and building the team. So once again, the 3 pillars: resilience, focus, and wellness. Build resilience, create focus, and support wellness inside your organizations. I'm Steve Tauber. You can find me at lnk.bio/Steve Tauber and madewithlove.com. Thank you for that.
Give it up for Steve.
I think I ran out of time for questions. I was going to have questions, but
You want to have questions?
I could have questions.
Yeah,
Does anyone have
you got 3 minutes. Anybody have any questions?
questions, not stories? Any questions? I have a free book for you if you ask a question.
Ooh.
There's a question.
Yeah, wait, I'll come to you. Oh,
He's there.
Thank you. Do you have some kind of system when picking buddies for people that come?
Yeah, we make sure the person is not on the same team. So what we do is it's someone else in the organization, someone from a different department. Because you're already working on the same project together, probably we don't want that because you're already, for instance, if you're doing code review or you're pair programming, you're already working very closely together. So we try to pick someone from a different part of the organization. Otherwise, it's fair game. Anybody can be a buddy.
Okay, thanks.
that answer your
Come
question.
get your book.
Yep.
Come get your book.
Any other questions? He's got 3 more books.
I have 4 more books.
I looked. 4.
Yeah.
Okay, you're here, there, and there. I think that's it.
You said hire fast, fire slow.
Yeah.
How do you fire slow?
Oh, yes, fire slow.
You are fired.
Yeah. Firing slow is really about giving people the opportunity to improve their performance. So if you have semester reviews, in theory, during that semester review, nothing is new. It's all been heard before because you've had one-on-ones regularly with the person. You've been giving them feedback regularly. So during that semester review, or earlier if it's something critical, you build a plan with them. How can they recover? These are the expectations. These are where we see that you're not meeting. And therefore, it's their opportunity to actually improve. So really great resource for that is the CEO of Know Your Team, Claire Liu. She has written everything that it is about, running teams, and she has a really nice process for how to actually get through that difficult time.
There's a question here.
Okay?
Hi.
Hi.
I like this system, but how do characteristics of a certain manager affect of the system being applied?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that, so first of all, this is just one approach. I think you have to be very careful when you're implementing new systems, and you need to do it in a very methodical way. I think the big challenge there is that you as an individual, you have to understand that one size doesn't fit all. So Scrum, for instance, I call that agile theater because it's totally not agile. And so the idea is that you can, as an individual manager, you can, first of all, you're going to have your manager.readme so people understand how you manage. And then with the team members, you're going to build that rapport. You're going to build the relationships that you need to actually manage well. So it's really about, maybe this is a non-answer, but it's really about, for each individual manager, understanding the people that you're working with. Because relationships are the defining characteristic of business. That's what we're doing. We're working together, right? There's a famous quote that says, no matter how it seems at first, it's a people problem. So that's where you need to start. Did I answer your question? That's good?
you choose a manager to make sure that he can apply the system?
Yeah, so what traits do I look for in a manager that's going to apply the system? I think the key there is that they need to have high EQ. I think it's really important that leaders understand that they're working with people. Just like when we're writing code, we're not writing code for machines, we're writing code for people, right? And then, yeah, outside of that, they should be a good writer. I think it's important. You're going to be doing a lot of writing, a lot of documentation. And maybe the third point, I don't have a third point, but yeah. Yeah, someone that you can talk to, right? You need to be able to talk to people.
We got one more question here.
Okay.
You, sir?
Hey, Steve. The guy in the front stole my question.
Okay.
I have a backup, which is you gave a lot of great references to a lot of good books.
Yeah.
Half of which I've read.
Yeah.
Do you have a link somewhere to all these great management books that you listed that we can consume?
Yeah, so lnk.bio/Steve Taubert. There's a link to the free range management book. And also on GitHub, you can click the link there on that same website. I always upload all my slides to GitHub. So you can find the slides for Shift, and then you can download the slides, and then I have a reference page with all the million references here. So you can check it out. And that's the website. Cool. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
I'll let you go after two information. First, Optimize Stage starts tomorrow at 2:15 p.m. And the after party is Beach Bar Bamboo. It's a beautiful beach bar. If you haven't been there, go. It starts at 9 p.m. Just be here tomorrow at 2. You have plenty of time. Bye-bye.